welcome to V1 Small Business Management Session 1. Topic cover: definition, small enterprise, types of small scale industry, characteristic, relationship between small and large unit, rationals, objective, scope, and problems of small scale industry. Definition. Before going to understand that what is a small industry, there is one introduction framework of the small enterprise. What exactly the small enterprises are, how small enterprises are performed. A small, in a way, or yeah, we can say that in a way, small and a large scale enterprise are one of the essential pillars of industrialization process of country. एक कंट्री के स्मॉल एंटरप्राइज और लार्ज एंटरप्राइजेस दोनों एक पिलर की तरह काम करते हैं एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में. Hence, the small enterprises are found existence in every country. So, the small scale enterprises have been in an important place in the framework of the Indian planning itself. इंडिया के अंदर अगर बात की जाए so yes, small scale business is very much playing a very much good and essential role in the Indian economy, and they were actually working in to emphasize more on the small scale industry. Today, India basically operates in the largest and the oldest program for the development of a small scale enterprises in every developing country. So, as a matter of a fact, the small sector has now emerged as a dynamic and a variant sector of the Indian economy in the recent year. So they were performing very good and they were performing very essential in the Indian economy role, as the small enterprises basically going to be developed in that scenarios. So in that case, yes, as far as the definition concerned, small scale industry, which is called as SSI, compares to be the variety of undertaking. The definition of small scale industry vary from one country to another and one time to another in the country depending upon the pattern and the stages of the development. But yes, at the same time, because that changes is basically dependent on the government policies, administrative setup for the particular country. So we can say that the different kind of definitions rules comes into a picture of the small scale industry. As this what the slide is mentioning is the legal definition of a small varies by country by country. So in the United States, the small administration and established a small business size standard on an industry by industry basis, but generally specifically a small business as having a fewer than the 500 employees for the manufacturing businesses and less than $7 million in the annual respect for the most non-manufacturing concerning. So this may be a manufacturing concerning businesses हैं, they were more related to or restricted themselves to the 500 employees, whereas जितनी भी नॉन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बिजनेसेस होती हैं they were basically looking for to be less than $7 million से कम तक का जिनका एनुअल कॉन्सेप्ट होगा वो स्मॉल बिजनेसेस में आएंगे. दिस इज द डेफिनेशन विच इज गिवन बाय द यूनाइटेड States. But yes, for the small scale industry, the Planning Commission of India use the terms village and small scale industry. This includes the modern small scale industry and the traditional cottage and the household industries also. So this is basically the Indian concept. Now in Europe, as we understand about the US, now we are thinking about what's the European Union was saying that, and a small business generally has an understanding of the under the 50 employees. मतलब वो small scale industry कहलाएगी जिसके अंदर सिर्फ 15 employees काम करते हैं. However, in Australia, a small business is defined as the Fair Work Act 2009 as one with the fewer than a 15 employees. That means according to the Fair Work Act, जितनी भी 15 employees उस organization में होंगे, that is considered as small business. By comparison, the medium-sized business and the mid-sized businesses have under the 500 employees in the US, 250 in the Europe Union, and the fewer than the 200 in the Australia. So these are basically the introduction of the small enterprises. That small enterprises अलग अलग countries and अलग अलग states के अंदर कैसे कैसे define किए जाते हैं. In addition to the number of employees, other method has been classifying the small companies, including annual sale, value of assets, and the net profit, along all in the mixed definition. So these criteria are followed by the European Union. For instance, the head count turnover, balance sheet totals. The small businesses are usually not dominant in their field of their operations. So this is not the reason or the we can say that the answering of the एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जितने एम्प्लॉयज़ काम कर रहे हैं वही वो एक शॉर्ट टर्म बिजनेस कहलाएगी या स्मॉल एंटरप्राइज कहलाई जाएगी. स्मॉल एंटरप्राइज कहलाने के लिए येस देयर आर अनदर फैक्टर्स like the annual same pattern was there, the value of assets and net profits are there, a loan and the mixed definitions was there, these criteria and followed by the European Union are comes into the picture. So this is dominated by the other operational areas also. Mainly the yes the investment part and the people part was comes into that picture. Now if we were talking about the India part, in India the small scale industry was classified into the four. So all the types of the small scale industry found in India, whether in the manufacturing sector or the service sector, was divided into the five types. So that for the basic five types are first is manufacturing industry. Manufacturing industry are those units which are producing the complete articles for directly the consumption and also for processing the industry are called the manufacturing industry. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्रीज बेसिकली वो कही जाती हैं जो एक प्रोडक्ट की प्रोडक्शंस करने के लिए गुड्स को बनाती है विच इज़ डायरेक्टली कंज्यूम्ड एंड ऑल्सो फॉर प्रोसेसिंग द इंडस्ट्रीज. That comes into the those units which are producing the complete article for the direct consumptions. We can take the examples in that like power looms, engineering industries, coin industries, khadi industry, food processing industries etc. comes into the manufacturing industries. So वो manufacturing industries के अंदर आती हैं जिनका mainly काम जो होता है वो consumption patterns को देखना होता है, जिनका mainly काम जो होता है वो not exactly consumption पर production area को emphasize करना होता है. Second is the auxiliary industry. Auxiliary industry is basically the industry which are producing the parts and the components and rendering the service to the large industries. Auxiliary industries are basically comes into the production part. That means ये वो industries होती हैं जो production के अंदर ही deal करती हैं but yes at the same time ये support करती हैं large scale industries को grow करने के लिए. That means they will mainly work to increase the growth or helping them to increase the production concept. That's all comes into the auxiliary industry. That means helping product बनाना जो कि large scale industry को अपनी service render करता है. Service industries again we can say that those who are covering the light repair shop necessary to maintain जितनी भी हमारी light repair shops होती हैं उनको maintain करने के लिए जितने भी mechanisms बनाए जाते हैं जो भी servicing provide करवाई जाती है that's all comes into the service industry. So they were covering the light repair shop necessary to maintain the mechanical equipment. So these industries are essentially a machinery based. In terms of किसी भी तरीके की repairing service provide करवाना किसी भी तरीके की ऐसी सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करवाना जो आपकी मशीनरी में हेल्प करती हो वो हमारी सर्विस इंडस्ट्री के अंदर आती है या वो हमारी सर्विस इंडस्ट्री कहलाती है. Then the feeder industry. Feeder industry is basically the special, we can say that specializing kind of concept. They were special in the certain terms of product and services. ये कुछ अपने आप में एक स्पेशलिटी प्रोडक्ट्स के अंदर आना और अपने आप में एक स्पेशल प्रोडक्ट में काम करना that comes into the feeder industries. So these feeders could be casting, electroplasting और welding जैसी services हो गई, electroplasting जैसी services हो गई. These all comes into the feeder industry. And mining and quarries, yes, mining and quarrying are more related to the mining part. That means कि किस तरीके the mining area mining area concept was comes into the type of small scale industry. So these are the total 5 type of industry small scale industries in India. Now what are the various characteristics of the small scale industry? Small scale industry के क्या क्या characteristics हैं? If you are defining the characteristics, so yes the labor intensive was the one characteristics because हमारी small scale industry fairly हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि on the production side also ये बहुत ज़्यादा labor incentives होते हैं कि labor कितने हैं कितने workers perform करते हैं कितनी income charge होती है. So इन सब concept में ज़्यादा होती है. That is why इसे labor incentives भी कहा जाता है. So small scale industry are fairly a labor incentive. They provide an economic solution by creating the employment opportunity in the urban area and the rural area at the relatively lower cost of a capital investment. Yes, that's true in terms of the apart from understanding that कि किस range तक के labors available होंगे, then the company or we can say that industry comes into the small scale. But apart from that, जितनी भी हमारी small scale industries होती हैं, they help an organization to generate the employment. एक employment generate करने में हमारी help करती है. Another is flexibility concept. Flexibility concept is basically the small scale industries are flexible in their operations and they adopt quickly to the various factors that play a large part in the daily management, and they facilitate makes them best suited to the constantly changing environment in terms of yes, these kind of an industries जो बहुत ही ज़्यादा flexible basis पर काम कर रहे होते हैं, they comes and they performed according to the time and the management, जैसे कि quickly adopt कोई चीज़ होती है तो उसमें जो perform करते हैं, that's all comes into the small scale industry part. So they were more flexible, make them best suited to the constant changing environment. One man show was there. One man show is basically related to the small scale units. It is generally a one man show in terms of an individual person can set up this industry. एक individual person जो होता है वो एक industry को set up कर सकता है और उसको set up करने के बाद वो अपने काम को run कर सकता है. That is why it's a one man industry. Even some of the small units are run by the partnership firms or the companies also, or the activities are mainly carried out by the one of the partner or the director. Therefore, they provide an outlet for their expressions of the entrepreneurial spirit. So, they, as they are their own boss, so the decision-making process is fast and at the time more innovative in terms of उतने ही ज़्यादा innovative होते हैं. इंडिविजुअल होने की वजह से, इंडिविजुअल कॉन्सेप्ट की वजह से आपके ही खुद के कॉन्सेप्ट होते हैं, you have a full understanding of that particular thing. So in that case, the activities are mainly carried out by the one person only, and these are all the activities and the entrepreneurial spirit is basically depend on that one person. So as they are on board, so they can make any kind of decisions. Another is use of the indigenous raw material. Use of the indigenous raw material is basically the those kind of a raw material जिनके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा costing की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती है, labor of we can say the use of that kind of resources which are the raw. बिल्कुल ही in that case small scale industries use the indigenous raw material and promote the intermediator and the capital goods. They contribute to the faster balanced economic growth in a traditionally economic through the decentralization and the dispersal of the industry in the local area. In terms of सब एक industry जो है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा इंडिजीनियस रॉ मटेरियल में डील करती है और अपने प्रमोट they were basically working on to promote the capital goods, and yes at the same time it help into maintaining the balance between the economic growth. यही जो रॉ मटेरियल्स की प्रॉपर यूटिलाइजेशन होती है वो हमारी इकोनॉमी के अंदर एक बैलेंस लेकर आते हैं. Then localized operation. Localized operation is basically related to the restrict their operation to the local area in order to meet the local and the regional demand of the people. लोगों की डिमांड को फुलफिल करने के लिए जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट होती हैं पीपल की उन्हें फुलफिल करने के लिए जितने भी स्टेप आउट लिए जाते हैं on a local basis, local areas rather than on the national and the international concept. लोकल बेसिस पर लोगों की जितनी भी नीड्स एंड वांट्स होती हैं उन्हें फुलफिल करने के लिए जो स्टेप्स लिए जाते हैं, एंड एट द सेम टाइम दे कैन नॉट एनलार्ज देयर बिजनेस एक्टिविटी ड्यू टू द लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज ऑल्सो, और कभी हेल्प विद द फाइनेंसिंग प्रॉपर नहीं है, लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज हैं, इन सब कॉन्सेप्ट में भी बहुत ज़्यादा बड़े स्टेप्स नहीं लिए जाते. दैट्स कम्स इनटू द लोकलाइज्ड ऑपरेशन. These are the reason behind that lack of resources or limited resources or probably the no skilled worker were there or the investment is investment proper नहीं है. So इस terms में एक business जो है वो expand नहीं कर पाता. But yes, लोग small scale industries are mainly focusing on the local market. Then the lesser gestation period, that gestation period is basically the period after which the return on investment started. जब आपके प्रॉपर इन्वेस्टमेंट और रिटर्न आने स्टार्ट होते हैं. सो इन दैट टर्म्स एक स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री के अंदर ये जो जेस्टर्स होते हैं, ये जो जेस्टर्स पीरियड होता है वो बहुत छोटा होता है. Because when you start working and you start putting effort in the small scale industries, that means you are getting the interest level. वो बहुत बड़ा नहीं होता है, वो hardly took in a month or 3-4 months or 6 months a day. Um, so that comes into the gestation. So it is the time period between the starting the unit and commencement of the production. ये वो एरिया होता है जहाँ पर इंडस्ट्री सेटअप होती है, सेटअप होने के बाद से उसकी प्रोडक्शन शुरू हो जाती है. सो स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री यूजुअली हैव अ लेसर gestation period than the large industry. This basically helps the entrepreneur to earn after a short period of a time when capital will not be blocked for a longer period. So capital बहुत ये इसका one of the benefit is कि एक शॉर्ट पीरियड के अंदर अर्निंग स्टार्ट हो जाती है, एंड एट द सेम टाइम जो कैपिटल होती है वो भी बहुत लंबे समय तक ब्लॉक नहीं होती है. Then education level, yes, employees of a small scale industry are normally low and moderately educated. बहुत ज़्यादा highly educated नहीं होते हैं, but yes, they were specialized in their skill and their knowledge. जिसके अंदर वो deal कर रहे होते हैं उसके अंदर वो बहुत ज़्यादा specialized होते हैं. So hardly there is any need of a specialized knowledge and skills to operate and manage the small scale industry. तो in that case बहुत ज़्यादा मैनेजेबल स्किल्स की ज़रूरत नहीं होती है स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज में. दैट इज़ वाई ऑल्सो दिस इज़ द वन ऑफ द रीजन ऑफ not putting on the so much efforts on the SSI. And then the profit motive in terms of owners, as yes बहुत short time duration में earning start कर देते हैं. So उनका main motive क्या होता है? Just to earn the profit. That is, they always try to keep the high margin in their price, and there is one of the reason for which the units may lead to the closure in terms of yes आप हाई प्राइस कर देते हो, हाई मार्जिन कर देते हो, जिसके बिहाफ पर आपके जितने भी गुड्स हैं दे स्टार्ट लैकिंग इन दी सर्टन कॉन्सेप्ट्स. The relationship between the small and large unit, yes, जैसा कि we will going to understand about that small scale industries would be there. So what is exactly relationship between the small and large unit? स्मॉल और लार्ज यूनिट के अंदर क्या क्या डिफरेंसेस हैं? तो सबसे पहला डिफरेंस है द कम्पेटिटिवनेस. इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि एक कम्पेटिटिव सिनेरियो, small scale industries cannot compete with the large industry in a certain circumstance and selected the product only. स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज बहुत लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज की तरह होती हैं, बहुत लिमिटेड एरियाज होते हैं, पर एट द सेम टाइम बहुत ज़्यादा लार्जर कॉन्सेप्ट उसके अंदर नहीं होते हैं. तो दिस बेसिकली अ स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री कैन कम्पीट. तो उस केस में अगर एक स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री कम्पीट करेगी लार्ज स्केल इंडस्ट्री के साथ, तो दिस वुड बी अ काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग which is little impossible concept or a difficult concept. So in that terms it is one of the difference between ये competitiveness या competitive scenario जो होता है दोनों मार्केट के अंदर बिल्कुल नहीं होता है और लो होता है. Then supplementary small scale industry can fill a gap between the large scale production and the standard output caused by the large scale unit. So this is due to the supplementary role of the small unit. That's very obvious कि जितनी भी एक स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री है वो बेसिकली एक फिलअप का काम करती है जब एक गैप आता है स्टैंडर्ड आउटपुट और लार्ज स्केल इंडस्ट्री के प्रोडक्शन के बीच में. व्हेन देयर द डिफरेंस अराइजेस व्हेन दी लार्ज स्केल इंडस्ट्री प्रोडक्ट इज आउट ऑफ रीच, तो इन दैट केस जितनी भी स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री के कॉन्सेप्ट होते हैं जो स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री होती है वो पिक्चर में आती है. Then complementary is another concept which is going to be served. Complementary is apart from the supplementary relationship, small scale industry has been complementary to its large counterpart. In the real world, many small units produce intermediate produce product for the large unit. So such subcontracting relationship between the small and the large was particularly marked in the economic history towards or today the industrializing developed Japan. So as the industrialization proceeds, small firms seems naturally to shift from the activity that compete with the large firms to complementary ones. In terms of that is basically of the complementary concept, जैसा कि it is apart from the supplementary एक दूसरे को complementary करते हुए goods भी बनाते हैं. As we were taking the example of एक्सनरी इंडस्ट्री उस तरीके के प्रोडक्ट बनाती हैं जो आपकी लार्ज स्केल इंडस्ट्री में एक सपोर्ट और एक हेल्प जनरेट करते हैं. सो दैट्स कम्स इनटू द कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री पार्ट. Then initiatives is basically attracted by the high profits of a margin, high profit of a large unit. The small units can also take the initiatives to produce the particular product. In success, the small units grow to large over a period of time. So separately quotes such initiatives that may be of the automobile factories in this. So we can say that कि अगर एक स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री की बात करें तो स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री जो है वो बहुत क्विकली इनिशिएटिव ले लेती है किसी भी तरीके के प्रोडक्ट को प्रोड्यूस करने में। एक तो अगेन येस, उनके लिए किसी भी तरीके की बहुत हाई इन्वेस्टमेंट की ज़रूरत नहीं होती है, बट येस एट द सेम टाइम शॉर्ट टाइम पीरियड के अंदर वो एक क्विक इन्वेस्टमेंट और क्विक गेनिंग ज़रूर कर सकते हैं। बट एज कम्स इन टू दी लार्ज स्केल इंडस्ट्री पार्ट, लार्ज स्केल इंडस्ट्री कि जितने भी इनिशिएटिव्स होते हैं दैट इनिशिएटिव्स कुड बी ऑफन अ वेरी मच डिफिकल्ट एंड हाई रिस्क वाज देयर, हाई इन्वेस्टमेंट वाज देयर, तो वो इतनी क्विकली किसी भी तरीके के डिसीजंस नहीं लेती हैं लार्ज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। देन serving is basically small scale industry to also install the serving and repairing the shop for the product of the large scale, when that comes yes, एक सर्विस इंडस्ट्री भी स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री के अंदर आती है। तो जितनी भी सर्विसिंग कॉन्सेप्ट होते हैं वो भी इंडस्ट्रियल के अंदर ही हेल्प करते हैं कि वो एक प्रॉपर सर्विसिंग प्रोवाइड करवा पाए। Then jobbing is yes another concept which is basically large scale industries provide the material and component of small unit, but a small scale unit process is material is not finished part or the sub assembling. In terms of that is always a club of the availability or jobbing concept. The one by one the job is going to be added in that particular market. And merchandising is basically small scale industry distribute or sell the product to the large scale unit। बहुत अलग अलग कॉन्सेप्ट के साथ अलग अलग मॉडिफिकेशंस के साथ बहुत सारे प्रोडक्ट अवेलेबल होते हैं मार्केट के अंदर स्मॉल स्केल यूनिट की जब बात करें तो। large scale industry is more or less limited towards their limited product line, product mix. So another is the exoneration is basically many large scale firm purchase components, part and accessories from the small scale industry। that means is related to जितने भी स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री होते हैं दे एबल टू प्रोवाइड दैट पर्टिकुलर service or the value add to the customer didn't reach. So in that terms yes, we need to consider to buy the parts and accessories of the large scale industry from the small scale industry. Now what is rational? Rational is basically of a small scale industry so established can broadly be classified into the four। जितना भी हमारी small scale industry है उसका rational जो है चार तरीके से define किया गया है। One is employment argument in the view of the India's scarce capital resources and the evidence labor, the most important agreement advance in the favor of the small scale industry that they have to potential to create the immediate large scale employment opportunity. So the increasing emphasis on the SSI is then developing country like India or the uh, like the India scheme largely for the with widespread concern over the unemployment in the country। In terms of employment argumentation, हमारी small scale industry somehow working are related to the very much employment side। They were considering the employment concept also, the how it is possible to generate the employment। That is the first factor। Another is the quality argument। Quality argument is basically one of the main argument but forward in the favor of the small scale industry, and is at the same time this that ensure a more equilibrium distribution of method, income and wealth। So this is basically accomplished because of the two main considerations। So equality factor ज़्यादा इसके अंदर होता है। that equality factor could be the large scale unit and the labor incentives nature। Then another is the decentralization argument। Decentralization argument is basically necessary of the rational dispersal of the industry to promote the balanced regional development in the country। So the big industries are concentrated everywhere in the urban area, but the small industries can be located in the rural area। So in that case yes, जहाँ पर एक बहुत ही ज़्यादा large scale industry है बहुत ज़्यादा रूरल एरियाज में सेटअप होती है, whereas small scale industry was work in the urban area। So that is the decentralization argument। Another is the lateral resource argument। Lateral resource argument is basically defining that this argument suggests that the small enterprises are capable of moving up um, latent and unutilized like the hoarded wealth and idle entrepreneurial ability etc. However, the real force of the latent resource environment argument lies in the resistance. So the organization skill, there is no evidence of an overall shortage of the small business units. So that's comes into latent resource argument. This is one of the fact that is related to the concepts of the SBM, that is SSI. Now, what are the various objectives of small enterprises? Small enterprises के क्या क्या objectives होते हैं? As we discuss about the objective में सबसे पहला objective है to generate immediate and large scale employment opportunities with uh, relative low investment, यानी कि एक low investment के साथ एक अच्छी opportunities को adopt करना, at the same time एक setup लेना, business setup. Then another is the to promote the level of a living of a people in the country. At the same time, yes, एक living standard increase होता है when the companies was contributing and adding up to the standard. We can say that small enterprises. So that's coming into the ensuring the small enterprises. Then ensure the more equitable distribution of national income. When there was the proper level of living, standard of living increase हुई, so that means एक equal distribution तो होता ही है income का. Another is to bring the drawback area in terms of it is required to consider the weaknesses of the mainstream की small scale industries की क्या weaknesses हैं, just to consider them. Then to encourage the effective mobilization of a country's DTAP resources. जितने भी DTAP resources होते हैं, winded up resources होते हैं, in that case उनको encourage करना, उनको consider करना. Then to fact टू अडिक्टिव अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट प्रॉब्लम फ्रॉम द कंट्री इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि अगर किसी भी तरीके से एक एनिमेटिक सिचुएशन क्रिएट हो गई बिटवीन द टू कंट्रीज एंड दे वर सो वेनिंग एंड कोल्ड, सो इन दैट केस हमारी जितनी भी अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट प्रॉब्लम होती हैं वो सब कैसे सॉल्व हो जाती हैं, वो सब हमारी एम वी कैन से दैट स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस के से ठीक हो जाती है. सो दैट्स कम्स इनटू द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ स्मॉल स्केल एंटरप्राइज. नाउ व्हाट आर द वेरियस स्कोप ऑफ स्मॉल स्केल बिजनेस का स्कोप जो है वो कहाँ कहाँ तक कंसीडर्ड है. सो इन दैट केस येस, दैट इज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सर्विस इज दी वन ऑफ द एरिया जहाँ पे स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज काम करती हैं. देन पब्लिक फाइनेंसिंग वॉज देयर, financial accounting was there, at the same time wholesale, we can say that wholesale businesses will be there. Then construction activities and service activities and the retailing activities. These are the various activities which is considered or at the time of the understanding the SSI we need understanding of these things. So now the role of the small enterprises in the economic development, किस तरीके का रोल होता है हमारी small scale enterprises के अंदर. So the scope of small scale enterprises is as we know that it's very vast. So in that terms हम लोगों ने जब scope पढ़ा था, that is manufacturing activity, repairing activity, retailing activity, financing, wholesale, construction activity. So now what are the various roles of small scale industries in the economic development? So economic development के अंदर क्या क्या रोल है हमारी स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री की. सबसे पहले some the important of the independence, the small scale sector in India has been a major contributory to the country gross domestic product. So the traditional sector in India is considered to have a huge growth and perspective what with its wider range of the product. With the 40% share in the total industry, total output, and the 35% of the share exporter, the small and the scale of the industrial sector, the small scale industry sector in the industry is exactly engineering or the engine of the growth in the new minimum. So that means it is किसी भी तरीके के new concept को ढूंढने के लिए it is required to understand about the GNP or required to understand upon the prospect range kind of. So that comes into the role of small and all enterprise in the economic development. Now yes, what are the few points comes into the consideration. The first one is the small scale industries contribute 40% to the gross industry. Small scale industry or smallest region. Here we can say that the small scale industries are the second largest employment in India, and as it has been large capacity to absorb many population. And yes, small scale industries led the balance, regional balance. In that term, it is basically industry led to the balanced regional level. Another is it also provide a separate force entrepreneurship, which is basically low cost of the production that comes into the space of entrepreneurship. Another is the small scale, or due to the small scale of industry, quick and immediate directions can be taken. The immediate directions can be taken at the सेम टाइम. सो इन दैट केस बहुत जल्दी आपको लेना पड़ता है किसी भी तरीके का ऑर्डर. यस, एट द सेम टाइम ड्यू ऑफ similar, or we can say that due to or with a small scale industry have an ability of adopting to the situations that comes into the small scale industry and its role. Another are what are the various problems of small scale industry. Small scale industry के अंदर क्या क्या problems आती हैं. The first problem is problem of the skilled manpower. That means जब एक organization के अंदर, और we can say that small scale industry के अंदर किसी भी तरीके की skilled manpower नहीं होती जो कि required होती है काम करने के लिए, तो वो भी हमारा एक failure reason हो जाता है small scale industry का. देन इनएडुकेट क्रेडिट असिस्टेंस, यानी कि जब प्रॉपर तरीके से क्रेडिट असिस्टेंस नहीं होती है, प्रॉपर तरीके से क्रेडिट को परफॉर्म नहीं किया जाता, दैट्स ऑल कम्स इनटू द एक्यूरेट क्रेडिट असिस्टेंस. देन इरेगुलर supply of raw material. Raw material is another requirement of a company. When that flow of raw material is not proper, that's very obvious that it is hacking or lacking behind the small scale industry. So this is what absence of the we can say that irregular supply of raw material. Fourth is absence of the organized marketing in terms of the working on or thinking about the organized marketing concept कि आपकी proper marketing कौन सी है जहाँ पर best competitive होगा and the product is going to buy. So you have to understand on the absence of the organized marketing की वजह से भी proper clicking नहीं हो पाती. Then lack of machineries and lack of equipment in terms of working on the factors like the मशीनरीज एंड इक्विपमेंट पार्ट. जब अगर एक इन सब चीज़ों में वो लैक कर रही है एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, दैट्स ऑटोमेटिकली वी फार बिहाइंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. एंड एब्सेंस ऑफ द एडुकेट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, दैट मीन्स वर्किंग ऑन द एडुकेट इंफॉर्मेशन, दैट आपको जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन अवेलेबल हो रही हैं वो एक्यूरेट होनी चाहिए. एब्सेंस ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वुड बी देयर, जब एक प्रॉपर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी अवेलेबल नहीं होता है इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि आप प्रॉपर स्पेस अवेलेबल नहीं है वहाँ पर मशीनरीज प्रोडक्शन स्ट्रक्चर कैसे काम होंगे, दैट्स कम्स इन द एब्सेंस ऑफ एडुकेट इंफॉर्मेशन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. देन कंपटीशन फ्रॉम द लार्ज स्केल यूनिट एंड द इम्पोर्टेड आर्टिकल. जब किसी भी तरीके से बहुत ज़्यादा कंपटीशन अराइज होता है स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री के लिए फॉर द लार्ज स्केल यूनिट्स एंड इम्पोर्टेड आर्टिकल. And other problems would be there were many other problems also, which is basically understanding about like in the it could be small scale industry has constrained by the number of the problems. It would include the technology obsolescence was there, inadequate and regular supply of raw material would be there, lack of organized market challenge, imperfect knowledge of market condition, unorganized nature of operation and inadequate abilities of the credit facilities. So इन सब तरीके की जितनी भी अदर प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं वो भी अराइज होती हैं जिसकी वजह से हमारी स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री फर्दर लीड नहीं कर पाती. So yes, there are few questions which you have to define it yourself. First is define the small scale industry. Small scale industry क्या होता है, क्या आपको इसे डिफाइन करना है. How far the small industry unit contribute to the economic development of country, और कैसे एक contribute करती है small scale industry हमारी economy को develop करने में. So you have to explain this. So this is all about for today's session. Thank you so much. Happy learning. We learn.